And welcome back to Live from the Heartland on WLUW 88.7 FM, the Chicago Sound Alliance. We're at the studio down here, and we just finished with James Thindwell. What a great analysis from James just now, not only on the election but on some issues going forward. So happy to hear from him. We are so pleased to welcome back, as we try to do with more regularity than we actually managed to, one of the most knowledgeable and helpful and wonderful commissioners of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, Debra Shore. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be with you, Katie and Tom and Michael. Thanks for inviting me back.
Yeah, and you know, we have to start by what you texted me after we did settle on the date that today is also National Toilet Day?
World Toilet Day.
World Toilet Day, even better. I love that, and the fact that you take responsibility for us coming together on such a momentous day.
But what is World Toilet Day?
So this is a date, November 19th, that's been designated by the UN for a number of years now to draw attention to sanitation and the fact that millions of people, even billions around the world, do not have a safe place, a sanitary place to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And as a result, more than 300,000 children a year die from diarrhea and waterborne diseases that are tied to lack of sanitation, and millions of others are sick and so forth from this lack of access to bathrooms.
Yeah. So that's a worldwide thing, and we could go into that, but you are Cook County all the way. And one of the things that you're talking about, because of the recent news about the Pharmaceutical Collections Ordinance, we should get right to that. Tell people what is the proposed Pharmaceutical Collection Ordinance about and what it does.
Thanks, Katie. This is an issue I've been working on for a number of years, and it has to do with providing safe, secure disposal sites for people to get rid of their unused or expired medicine so they don't flush it down the toilet.
Is this a problem that people do, and it raises an issue that needed attending?
It's a problem in a number of ways. One, we can detect the presence of a whole host of pharmaceuticals in drinking water and in wastewater. Hormones from birth control pills and Viagra and cancer treatments, Prozac, and a whole host of other pharmaceuticals that our bodies don't absorb and that we excrete, but that also are flushed down the toilet from unused or expired medicine. However, though we can detect these pharmaceuticals, we can't remove them in the sewage treatment process. They're in the parts per billion and parts per trillion. Some studies are beginning to show detrimental effects on fish and other aquatic life from the exposure to this complex stew of pharmaceuticals in our waterways. So I've been interested in trying to expand places for people to safely dispose of their unused meds so they don't flush them down the toilet. But the other part of the problem is that when people don't know what to do with their unused meds, they accumulate at home in our medicine cabinets.
Sure. And
then become a risk to seniors who may accidentally mix things, or to teens and young adults who rifle through medicine cabinets. And this surge, epidemic of prescription drug abuse, in part is due, 50% of the people who get exposed to, addicted to opioids, start with the drug dealer in their home, namely their medicine cabinet. So providing places for people to get rid of their drugs is a public safety and public health measure.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a case in point. I opened up our one of the cabinets in the kitchen the other day, and there were all kind of vitamins in there. And I pulled them down thinking, what the hell, we can use these up. My wife is a stickler for dates, so she threw most of them away. And they're going into the landfill. We didn't try to recycle the plastic bottles because they had all of these vitamin B, calcium, magnesium. If you have drugs that you're trying to dispose of, do you What happens if they go in the landfill? That's still a bad thing.
It is a bad thing. I don't recommend it at all, because eventually either they'll dissolve and end up in groundwater from landfills, or that leachate, the dissolved stuff from a landfill, gets conveyed to a sewage plant, where again we cannot remove those pharmaceuticals in the sewage treatment process. So I think the safest and best thing is to find a collection site. In the city of Chicago, currently, police stations have a collection box in them. We installed one at the headquarters of the Water Reclamation District, 100 East Erie. There's one in the lobby of Cook County building. But what Katie asked about is the Cook County Board happily and unanimously adopted an ordinance at the end of October that would expand collection sites throughout the county under the authority of the sheriff, and would eventually require pharmaceutical manufacturers to pay for the costs of collection and disposal. So we hope that many of these lock boxes or take-back sites will be expanded into pharmacies, because that's where people
That would be a
over
good
and
place.
over say they want to take their drugs back.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because it's a stretch to try to think that all the people in Chicago are going to recycle their old drugs.
Right.
We really have to make it as easy as possible.
What is crystal green?
Tom is looking at a vial I've brought of
She always brings a vial with her, Tom.
little white crystals called crystal green. These are phosphorus crystals that, through a new process that the Water Reclamation District has installed at the largest wastewater plant in Stickney, we will be able to remove phosphorus from the treated wastewater instead of discharging it into the Chicago waterways, where it's a problem. Phosphorus is essential for fertilizer. It causes plants to grow. But in waterways, it causes algae to grow, which sucks up all the oxygen, leaving none for fish. We need to take it out of the water, but through this new process, we'll be able to turn it into a slow-release fertilizer that we can sell that's not water-soluble. We'll take something that's a problem and a pollutant in water and turn it into a vital resource, producing something in the Midwest that can be used in the Midwest and generating revenue for the taxpayers of Cook County. It is totally exciting.
So it is exciting, because I remember 2 or 3 visits ago from you to the radio show, you brought a vial that didn't have a label on it, but was describing this process. So does this mean we've gone to...
We've built what are called bioreactors, 3 big ones. In May, we had a ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're beginning to produce these phosphorus crystals at the Stickney plant. We hope that at full production we'll produce 10,000 tons a year, and this company wants to pay the district $400 a ton. Eventually we'll generate revenue. But the most important thing is that we'll be getting ahead of more stringent regulations that will limit the amount of phosphorus that we can discharge in the waterways, and will produce something essential for agriculture. Let me share with you a powerful quote from Isaac Asimov that he wrote in the 1970s. And he said, "Life can multiply until all the phosphorus has gone, and then there is an inexorable halt which nothing can prevent."
Dang, girl.
When I worked in the hardware business in high school and college, we used to sell a product that wasn't Scott's. It was called Milorganite. Is this a similar kind of product, or is it something else altogether?
Well, your Milorganite is the treated solid waste that becomes fertilizer from Milwaukee's sewage treatment plant, and you can go to a garden center and buy it today. This is a separate process to remove nutrients. These phosphorus crystals that you see in the vial I brought will be sold to a commercial fertilizer blender and mixed with some magnesium and nitrate and then sold to farmers. Their field research has shown a great deal of efficacy with potatoes, strawberries, and high-protein alfalfa. But the Water Reclamation District is moving into resource recovery in several other ways. Nutrient recovery is one, but with the biosolids, the solid waste that is produced here in Cook County, we're experimenting by mixing them with wood chips from the city of Chicago to produce a high-quality compost that we will be able to sell
Wow,
someday.
wow. So you recently had some colleagues join you at the Water Reclamation District. If I recall, you were the first so-called environmentalist to serve as a commissioner on the Metropolitan, and now you have 2 or 3, or maybe even 4 amongst the 7 commissioners?
9.
9. Are we going to see a shift? Is there going to be a name change from this long, gangly commission name that we have now? Or what are you looking forward to with Justina Marita and others like that joining your ranks?
Well, thanks, Tom. I would like to give a nod to the late Joanne Alter, who served on the board beginning in 1972 and was a real conservation advocate.
Thank you for mentioning her name.
Back then.
Thank you.
And if I can be a shadow of what she was as a leader, I would be proud and happy. I think there is a shift both in our culture that's reflected in the candidates to be concerned and caring about our environment, about our water quality, about our common home, what Pope Francis said, caring for our earth. And so we are seeing more candidates for whom that's a primary concern.
Yeah. Michael?
Well, you know, one of the things I've been following is what's going on up in North Dakota, and where the Native Americans and others have joined together to try to protect not only ancestral homeland, but try to stop the water that's flowing under the Missouri, that is planned to be flowing under the Missouri River right at the reservation. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this kind of attention that's been drawn to water in general, and people talking about, you know, water and protecting water, and so it goes beyond just like North Dakota. It's a, you know, worldwide phenomenon. Your take on that, and as an inspirational force or whatever?
Certainly, a number of things have brought much more attention to water and water quality and water availability. The crisis in Flint, Michigan, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Sandy, droughts, and so on. People are becoming more aware and more concerned about water. There's a great book I would recommend called The Big Thirst by Charles Fishman, and the subtitle is The Secret Life and Turbulent Future of Water. One of the points he makes is that we've been so successful in the developed world with our water infrastructure that we turn on the tap and almost never have the experience of having nothing come out.
Right, right. I know that every time we talk, we go through the amount of fresh water that is used to flush away our waste, and it kills me every time. Have you seen any kind of jump in the use of low flush toilets, and anything that makes you sort of hopeful?
Well,
not enough?
People in California and other places where water supply is a much larger and more fractious issue than it is here have taken enormous strides in conservation, in adopting appliances that use far less water, in reuse of treated water, which is another part of resource recovery that we're beginning to move into here. But the cost of water here is still low, and it's readily available, so that's not been driving conservation or the use of more efficient appliances here the way it has elsewhere.
So, given that we're on the Great Lakes, and what you are concerned with is the water systems off of the Great Lakes into the Chicago-Cook County area, right? But do you work together with any group that you can name, or groups that you can name, on really tending to and this incredible resource that we're sitting on the shores of? Do you work with other states, provinces in Canada? Is there an ongoing, serious, intelligent conversation happening about saving it?
Well, there are many conversations, Katie. Personally, I serve on the board of the Great Lakes Protection Fund,
Okay.
as it was appointed by a prior governor as one of 2 Illinois members of that board. Our agency is part of the National Association of Clean Water Agencies, and there's a move afoot called the One Water U.S. Water Alliance, trying to look at water as a single ecosystem and not in silos of drinking water, used water, rainwater, groundwater. It needs to be managed as an ecosystem. Here we have some government structures that are obstacles to that. Our agency treats wastewater and manages stormwater, but doesn't deliver drinking water. But there are discussions underway as to how do we manage and more intelligently plan and look at and manage our water resources.
With our last 2 minutes with you, what would be the thing you'd like most to see happen in this next period of time when people are going to be very distracted by issues coming out of Washington, D.C.? I know that in a way that means you can just put your heads down locally and do some things. What would you like, what is the next thing to get done?
There's a heck of a lot that can be done to address climate change, and that needs to be done on the local and regional scale. Cities are drivers of innovation, of creativity, of getting things done. So we need to be working both in our water and wastewater sector, but energy, to show the way that we can conserve, that we can address climate change to the extent that we can.
When I was growing up, the Chicago River was an open sewer. Now people are kayaking it. There was a recent survey about increased use of our waterways. Did you ever anticipate we'd be looking at a clean river and a clean waterway system for recreational purposes, not just keeping the junk out?
Not as much as has happened in the 10 years that I've served on the district. The fact that the district has installed disinfection at 2 of the largest plants to kill more of the bacteria before it's discharged in the Chicago waterway. You're absolutely right, Tom. When this system of waterways was conceived and built in the late 1800s, they were open sewer pipes to convey sewage away from the lake and as a route for commercial barge traffic. No one ever imagined people would want to canoe or kayak on them. But today, between 60 and 70 fish species have been found in the Chicago River. The water quality is increasing dramatically, and that's a great thing.
Debra Shore, thank you so much for your work and the work of the Chicago Metro Water Reclamation District. Really important behind-the-scenes agency that maybe we'll be hearing more about as people begin to pay more attention to the water resource we have right outside our door.
I hope so, and thank you for the opportunity to visit with you today.